are you?
Hi, Brad.
So we're doing something different, quite different for me because I've never had my astrology chart read or done before at a professional level or anything really. And Jules reached out to me and asked if I'd be okay with that. So I gave her some personal details of my birth, when the Magi came and they followed the star. So I told her all about that. And no, seriously, I'm from Michigan, and I gave her the time of date when I was born and all of that. So, yeah, Jules, give us a little background of your experience or with astrology and creating these charts.
Yes, okay. I've been working with astrology for a really long time now. It's really decades, but I qualified as an astrologer about 12 years ago. And I've been looking at charts and interpreting charts, hundreds of charts over a period of years. And I still find it really interesting. And even though some charts are more interesting than others, but I'm always looking for, a really interesting chart. And that's why I asked, could I interpret your chart? Because I knew it was going to be different. And it's very different. And in some ways I was not surprised. In other ways, I'm quite surprised at how different your chart is. So I can talk about how different it is, and I can talk about all the different aspects of the chart. And you might also want to ask a few questions as well as we go along. But have you actually got your chart with you so you can follow along?
No, I don't. Let me open that up. It's in my email. One moment here. Okay. So I believe you emailed me that, correct?
Yes. It was about a month ago.
What's that?
It was about a month ago.
Okay.
8th of February.
Yeah, I thought. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, because there were two charts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second one.
I got the correct one now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just going to follow that at your end?
Sure. And I will maybe post it or include it somehow in the editing if we need to. So, yep.
Okay, that's good. Because I just thought it'd be really good if you can look at the chart as I'm talking to you about it.
Sure. I've got it now. Yep.
Okay. So I remember when I first sent you the chart, you were noticing all of the geometry of the chart. How, it's kind of got an unusual geometry. And when I'm saying geometry, I mean the aspects of the chart. Because the aspects of the chart are geometrical aspects, like they form degrees. We're not looking at the chart. I don't know whether you're aware of that, or at my end, I haven't got that. Or have you got the chart at your end?
Yeah, I've got it. I'm sharing it now. Can you see it?
No. I've got a multicolored purple and pink sort of image.
Oh, you can't see it?
No.
Okay.
It's okay. It doesn't matter at my end because I have a copy of your chart here.
Right. Okay. So I'll just stop sharing.
Yeah, because maybe other people won't be able to see the chart either.
Yeah, I'll just include it in the editing.
Yeah, it's fine.
So
that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm looking at it though. We've got it and we'll have it. So yeah, it's yeah. I don't know what I'm looking at all. So I have no background in astrology, astrological charts. I just know vaguely, you know, I'm a Scorpio and some of the characteristics. That's sort of where I end with
Okay.
astrology.
Well, when you look at the chart at your end,
Mm-hmm.
you can, if you look right in the near the center of the chart, you'll be able to see numbers from 1 to 12,
Yeah,
right in the middle of the chart.
indeed.
They're the divisions of the chart. They are the houses of the chart. And what that means is they're the different areas of your life. And they're numbered from 1 to 12. And I wanted to point that out first of all, so that you can see that, because we'll be talking about the different, I'll call them houses because that's what they're called in astrology, but
Yep.
it just means the 12 areas of life, right? The other thing that I'll probably start with as well is, if you look at the left of the chart near the middle, you'll be able to see the letter A and letter C, AC together.
Yes, I see that.
Right. That is your ascendant or rising sign. You heard of the rising sign before with astrology?
Yeah, I've heard of that. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Yeah. That means that that's to do with your time and place of birth. That's why you need time and place of birth.
Oh,
Because that will determine the rising sign, even though you knew what your sun sign is, your sun sign Scorpio.
right.
But to put a chart together, you need this rising sign, and then everything falls into place from there. And where it says AC, right? That is where your rising sign is, and your rising sign is Gemini.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
It actually says it up in the far left of the chart, the writing at the top under your name. It actually says Ascendant Gemini. I think you can see Sun sign Scorpio, Ascendant Gemini. It's up underneath your name.
Yep. Right in the red. Right.
So that'll kind of remind you that you're Ascendant Gemini, right? Which is rising sign, same thing.
All right.
Now, with the Gemini, I know that, you know, it's supposed to be the twins, okay, but there's other aspects to that as well. That gives your approach to life. That you know, you are an author, but you also approach life with a mind approach. You know, and I always pick that up from you, that you're always thinking through this mind filter all the time. Even when you're being creative, it's being filtered through this mind approach. So I don't know whether you're aware of that.
Do you mean like analytical, like planning and?
Yeah, it can be that. It can be that. But it's just this kind of mind. It's like you're filtering things through your mind and your thinking when that's how you approach things. Maybe you're not aware of it, but that is what Gemini is to do with writing, but it's also very much to do with the mind.
Okay.
And
Well, I have a philosophy behind what I do.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to
come together.
Yeah, and I'm going to come to philosophy too, because that's a big thing in your personality. That's a really big thing. And so that what this means, when you've got Gemini rising, it means that your ruling planet of your chart is Mercury. And Mercury is to do with the thinking and mind and being an author and things like that.
Is that does that correspond to Thoth as well?
Yes, it does.
Mercury and Thoth, if I remember from when I studied that when I was 16.
Yeah, because Mercury is the Roman form, the Roman name for the Egyptian Thoth.
Right, that's right. I
Yeah.
remember that.
And I can relate very much to this too, because my rising sign is also Gemini.
Ah.
And I put everything through a mind filter. That's how I approach life. So I can relate to this really easily because I know what that's like. But your Mercury sign, your Mercury planet is actually in the 4th house. You know what I'll say? If you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember the numbers are in the center of the chart.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, Mercury is in Libra.
Right. Okay.
So that means that's you always weighing things up. I've heard you talk on your videos about balance. You've got a thing that you really like balance, and you think that balance is important.
Yeah.
Mercury in Libra. Libra's the scales. So that means that you are, it's quite an intellectual Mercury. So you like to think with a balanced and relatively clear mind. That's how you look, that's how you weigh things up.
I try to be objective.
Yeah, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've also heard you talk before about clarity and things like that. So this is the mind filter that you're putting your sort of approach to life through. So no matter what you're doing, even if it's when you're being creative, you're still putting things through that filter. You're weighing things up in that Mercury way.
So how does that mix with the Scorpio aspect? Because a Scorpio is quite aggressive, and I mean, I'm just saying the cliches that I know of, and or will you get to that, or?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Now, I talked about the rising sign first because this is what they call the big 3. Okay. Next one I'll talk about is your sun sign and your sun in Scorpio.
Okay.
Right. Now, the sun in Scorpio, as you know, it's ruled by Mars. It is the ruler is Mars. So that's what you mean when you said quite aggressive.
Yeah.
But it also makes you motivational. It gives you that motive, And your sun in Scorpio is one of 4 planets in the 5th house. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll see number 5. You'll see all of these planets in the 5th house. And one of them is you'll see Scorpio too on that house. You'll see the Scorpio sign with 4 planets in there.
Yes.
Right? Your sun is one of those 4 planets in the 5th house.
Yes.
Right? This is all your creativity. The 5th house is creativity.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
You've got a lot of stuff in there. And it's all your resources.
Wow.
All of your resources. You're drawing on that all the time. And you know that. You're drawing on that, and it's there all for your use. Is that
part of the, you mentioned that got kind of an unusual chart. Is that an unusual thing to have that many planets stuck in there?
That's one of them, because you've got 4 planets there in that 5th house, including your sun sign, right?
Right.
And you've also got Mars in there, and Mars is in Scorpio, and Mars rules Scorpio. So this is really strong.
That's really intense aggression.
No, it doesn't have to be aggression.
Okay. Goal oriented.
Yeah, but just very, very motivated, gives you lots of energy, So the energy is there. There's times where it's almost like an engine. It's like you've got this engine that's always running in your creativity area. It's always there for you. You just go to it.
Yeah.
It's just ready to go, and you use it in different ways. So that is really, but you've got 4 planets there. You've got what they call a cluster of planets. And that's always really useful, but it's a concentration. That's where the concentration is. So when I was looking at your chart, I knew, okay, there's got to be a really obvious creativity, And as soon as I saw it, I thought, okay, well, there it is.
Okay.
So that's where all that comes from.
Cool.
The next thing to look at is when I said the big 3, you've got the rising sign, the sun sign, and then the third one of the big 3 is the moon. Now, the moon is a bit different, because the moon is something that people kind of keep more personal. People don't usually sort of show their moon position.
Okay.
But yours is a little bit hard, sometimes hard to hide. Not that you want to hide it, but sometimes it's hard to hide.
Have you seen my videos? I've shown my moon a few times.
Oh, you mean the moon outside? Oh, okay. This is what we want.
No, my bum.
This might be why you do it, because the moon is in the first house near your ascendant. If you have a look where it says AC for ascendant, you can see the moon. You can see the moon on it's pretty close to it, right?
Okay.
It's in the sign of Cancer, the crab. Right? It's in the sign of Cancer.
So I'm looking into shape 1.
Yeah.
Right?
The house there, first house.
Okay. Now I thought that was Gemini.
Where it says AC, that is Gemini, but you're in the last degrees of Gemini. So that a lot of the first house is actually Cancer, the crab.
Oh, the one above it.
So you well just under the AC, just under the AC is the first house. It's all in the first house.
Okay.
And you can see the moon there. The moon in the first house, right? That's in the sign of Cancer, the crab. Because that's just underneath your Gemini. It's just underneath your ascendant Gemini. Then it goes to Cancer. Then it goes in because it goes. That's the order of the stars. Gemini, then Cancer.
Okay.
And the moon is in a strong position because the moon rules Cancer, the crab. It rules that. So that in the first house, you're not able to sort of. Sometimes that's going to be able to be noticed because when it's in the first house, those things are a bit more obvious, right?
So what is this moon like? Yeah, what is that indicating, or what aspect does it connect to?
Well, it connects to quite a bit, but I'll tell you in a moment. But the moon in Cancer means that it can mean a few things. It can mean that you're either family orientated. Now that can be with the family that you have now, or family of origin, or it can mean something about the past. And it can mean that somehow you might feel that the past, your personal past and or family background may have sort of, for you in particular, may have helped form. You might think that's a bit of a foundation of who you are. I think I've heard you talk before talk about your background, and then you sort of say, I just get the impression from you that even though you've moved on from that formed a kind of, quite a foundation for you. It kind of motivated you. Because I always remember you saying, "Oh, I just felt like I had to get out of this. I had to get out of this home, where you were brought up. You had to sort of break away from that." You felt restricted.
I moved from, I'm from a divorced family, and I never felt. I wanted to be a world traveler. I wanted to I just had this need to get far away. You can't get much farther than Australia from Michigan. So that's, yeah. I mean, I love my family. I presently, I'm family oriented. I have a son. That's, a big part of everything. So yeah, I guess that's how it might connect.
Yeah, I just remember you sort of saying that you did find your the family situation you're brought up with, you did find it a bit restrictive though, because that's why you said you also felt like that you just felt you had to move from there, and you just found it a bit restrictive, and it was probably mainly to do with you. Because it's in the first house, that's your individuality. That's you wanting to find yourself as an individual and express yourself as an individual.
It's quite a conservative town. There's more churches per capita there than anywhere else in the world, Grand Rapids. So it was Christian Dutch Reformed. Not that we were, but the city is very conservative.
Yeah, well, I can
With me, yeah.
I can actually see that too, because in that first house that we're looking at where the moon is, underneath that planet is the planet Saturn. And Saturn is in Cancer crab as well. So that is all to do with that conservative home
Oh, wow.
that you have. That is actually there.
Okay. So Saturn is a conservative.
Yeah. Yeah. Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is to do with status and hierarchy and all of the
Structure.
all the structure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Totally. Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk about, we can go from house to house here, but the two other things stand out in your chart. Okay, there's some more other things that stand out.
Yeah. Tell me.
If you have a look at the top part of the chart, there's two planets there at the top half, right?
Yes.
But one of them, I want to look at the one that's in Pisces. So can you see the Pisces symbol? It's in house number 9.
Yes.
Now, it looks like the number 4.
Right.
That is Jupiter. That is Jupiter in Pisces. Now, Jupiter rules Pisces. So you've got another really strong part of your chart. Because Jupiter, I know people say, oh, Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune is a co-ruler, so there's 2 rulers, but Jupiter is the original ruler of Pisces. And that's in your 9th house. And that gives you, I think you've got a calling with philosophy. I think you've actually got a calling. You may not think of it like that, but I know you're really interested in philosophy, because I know that you've mentioned philosophy a few times on your channel, and you talked about different philosophers that interest you.
Definitely. One of the reasons I love going to the University of Chicago was all the theory, which is based on French, basically post-structuralist philosophy. And yeah, like right now I'm studying Zizek. He's a communist Lacanian philosopher. So yeah, no, I'm definitely ideas like how to best live your life, Nietzschean processes and concepts. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by thinkers like that and how to see the world in those ways. So for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's where you get that from, and that's another really strong part of your chart. It's prominent because it's at the top part of your chart.
Okay.
So you've got this strength in your 5th house with all the creativity, and then you've got this really prominent position of Jupiter in the 9th house in Pisces, and it gives you this philosophical thing, gives you a lot of mind expansion. You know, I don't know if you'd be aware of that, but it really, you get a lot of mind expansion.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing that's really interesting is that there's another planet that's at the top part of your chart as well. Now, if you look just in the next house across from the Jupiter, you'll be able to see a planet that looks like the letter K.
Yeah. What's
now, that is Chiron. I don't know whether you've heard of Chiron.
Isn't that a moon of something?
Well, no, it's not a moon, but it's an asteroid. It's an asteroid.
Oh, okay.
I always include Chiron because it's a really important asteroid. It's larger than the other asteroids, and it's like a cross between a planet and an asteroid. So they kind of call it a planetoid now, because it's a combination of the two. Now, this one I think will make sense to you. Now, you have Chiron in the sign of Aries. Now, Aries is very individualistic.
Okay.
It's fiery. It's the first fire sign. And that sign is also ruled by Mars. It's ruled by Mars, like Scorpio.
Right.
And you have got Chiron in that sign of Aries. So this makes you the maverick. You come across as the maverick because you are the maverick. That is you. You are the maverick. You know, you do things in your own very individualized way.
It's whatever. I look around and I see what everybody else is doing, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
I never want to follow the crowd. I always think they're going to go off the cliff together. And no, absolutely. That's been what I've been like since grade school. I always didn't want to be part of it. I mean, I felt like I wanted to get away from them. And, it must be wrong if everybody's doing it. That's kind of what my view was. People are sometimes in crowds not so bright. So that's kind of been my philosophy since being a child.
Yeah. And a lot of people think of Chiron. They think of Chiron in a healing aspect. But I have found that the healing part is where you've got a subconscious way of healing yourself. So what this means is you just automatically being this maverick. Maybe I think this absolutely ties in with your moon and Saturn in Cancer the Crab. I think you are able to heal yourself from that family background that you so much wanted to get away from. And you have done this through your career. Because Chiron is in the 10th house, and that rules career.
Mm.
And it's also public image. So this is what people pick up from you through your work, your career work, and also just how you what just people see through your work, through what you do. You know, it's a very, very individual, unique way of doing things and being just who you are. So, and you use that. This is the kind of inattention that you use, and you use that. You know, that leads into your creativity because it gives this inattention that you need. I think you said once on your channel something like, it's like how a pearl forms. There's that irritation in the shell, and that's that inattention, as you know, that gives you that out. You have that outlet with it leads straight into your creativity.
You mean like if I'm looking around and I'm seeing, everybody kind of following a trend or a fad, I'll want that might irritate me enough to create a counter narrative to that. Like tarot, everybody's all into Rider-Waite-Smith, and I kind of went way into Marseille, the opposite, and try to push that as an alternative. So yeah, that sort of like connects. It is a motivational thing. I need kind of an opponent almost. I need kind of something to be against to help really push me.
Yeah.
The more I'm against something, the more I'll write books on it. I'll paintings. I'll create videos. So yeah, I like to have a good enemy.
Yeah, and that is, like you said, that's a motivation for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and it's good because it feeds straight into the creativity. That feeds straight into there. So the other thing that I've noticed with your chart too is like the geometry of your chart.
Okay.
You can see the sort of really prominent blue triangle that's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Now that is called. They're all in water signs. All three of those.
Oh.
That's called a grand trine, but it's a grand water trine. But it's kind of funny when you think about it, because you're from Grand Rapids. So isn't that funny? You know, there's the water.
Yeah, the water.
Yeah. And so you've got this grand water triangle, but it's stronger than usual because it involves 3 planets that are all in their own rulership. So it's really strong. But this is where the creativity is flowing. It's all flowing.
Oh, I
This
see.
is the flow. And it is water, and it gives you that flow. It's like a circuitry that's always there. It's all just flowing.
Yeah.
So you've got that there. And then you've got this. I'm going to describe now where the kind of inattention, what aspect that comes from. The best way to point this out is this is in red instead of blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best way to show this is if you go up to where that Chiron planet that looks like the letter K.
Yeah.
That's, if you follow that red line down.
Yes.
That goes down to the planet Saturn, to the first house. So it goes from the Chiron way down to the first house where the Saturn is.
Okay.
Then it cuts across to where you've got Mercury in the 4th house. So it forms a square angle, a 90-degree angle. Can you see the 90-degree angle?
Yes.
It goes from the, yeah, you can see that. Well, that's called a T square.
Okay.
So it's a square aspect. I'm trying not to get too technical here, but I
Sure.
just wanted to point it out to you because I know that you were kind of wondering about all these geometrical shapes.
Yeah. So we've got the water, like this sharp triangle.
Yeah.
And then surrounding it, so this fire element in a square.
Alongside. Now with that one, when you've got that, what they call a T square happening.
Yeah.
That involves 3 planets, but it forms a right angle triangle. You've got a right angle, but it's all in red, so you should be able to see it.
Yeah.
So sort of pointed out. And what happens with that? That's in. It's not all in water. It's in different elements, but that doesn't matter. What the 3 planets have in common for the T square is that they're called, they're in cardinal signs. So cardinal signs have got like that Aries approach. In other words, they're strong, they've got initiative, but you've got motive. So it's like that fires you. And at the same time, with motivation, and at the same time, you've got this watery flow for the creativity. So you've got the motivation going on with the inattention, and then you've got your creativity completely like entwined and back. It all backs it. They're backing each other up. So that one just it's like you're alternating, but they feed in together.
Interesting.
And you might find sort of sometimes there might be a little bit of like alternation where you think, oh, I'm feeling more motivated than creative today, or vice versa. Oh, I'm going with the flow with the creativity and it's just flowing and I don't have to think about the motivation.
Right.
And other times it's all going in together at the same time. You're all fired up with the creativity sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is another aspect of your chart, but I don't want to, it's a little bit too difficult to explain because I would be getting too technical. But
okay.
you have got the kind of chart that it's a dynamic chart, but it's also an unusual chart. I mean, it's a sort of chart that I could do further research on, because it is kind of different. But it's good to have a chart like that because there's plenty of resources there. It's dynamic. It's very individual, and it's just really interesting.
Well, it looks like I don't have much choice but to be an artist. It seems everything is geared toward, creativity. So that seems to fit with me. I can't escape it if I wanted to. Are there aspects that like that this shows that I could work on, like negative things that to watch out for or be careful of?
I think the thing is, when I was talking about the motivation part with the T, what they call the T square, this is the thing, right? Something that gives you energy and motivation could also make you feel a bit kind of frustrated at times. But it's like two sides of a coin. If you don't have that inner tension, it's like you sort of also need that to feed into the creativity. So it's like, you might say to yourself, oh, I wish I didn't find something so frustrating, or I wish I didn't feel irritated, or something like that. But I think if you're able to see that, not only from the creativity point of view, but there's a lesson or a message in it for you that you need to sort of reflect on, and you can do it, you can weigh it up because you've got that Mercury in Libra ruling your chart. You've got that ability
to find that balance.
Yeah, it's like what you've been doing, like with the I Ching. I think that's your way of weighing these things up in your mind. You're finding messages that way.
Yeah.
The other thing that you could do is this philosophy thing. I mean, even the I Ching is philosophy.
True.
It's the Tao. It's Chinese philosophy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that is the thing to really. I think that's where there's a lot of benefit there, and I think that is the thing that you're going to get quite a lot of direction in a direction. I think if you look into the different kinds of philosophy that you like, that you're interested in, and widen the horizons like that, I think that's going to be really good, because there's always all these different things that you can reflect on. There's
like mind expansion, really.
Yeah, but I think there's something. I mean, you may not be. You're probably not the meditation type. I can't imagine.
No, I've tried. It just does nothing for me.
You don't have. Yeah, you know what? I'm not really the meditation type either. What I do, I use something that's sort of related but different. For me, it's contemplation. And contemplation is just reflecting on these thoughts that you get, like, from the philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the Tao or whether it's these other Western philosophers that you like.
More like a Christian monk sort of meditation on something. There's that, but I really feel that meditation in terms of art making, like when I'm painting and I lose my mind, I'm not conscious, and I don't even remember making the painting half the time. I lost myself. So I kind of feel that is sort of what they're trying to do anyway by sitting. But this is my method. Or writing, when you're just on fire, and next thing you wrote, 2,000 words, and it's you were like on fire, and you don't really, you weren't there. It just kind of happened. If that sort of feeling to me is my form of meditation in a way.
And that's true too, because I always think of it as the zone. What gets you into that zone?
Getting in the zone, yeah.
Yeah, and that does feed into the creativity, does feed into that, like, philosophical outlook. So yeah, I think sort of you absolutely can combine those things, like you said, without just getting into the zone with your creativity. You can do that.
Yeah.
So I think plugging into that is a really good idea.
Well, I mean, I make music, I do painting, I write books. so when you're doing so much stuff, you need like a foundation or an archway to hang it, or so, for me, it's all connected by a certain philosophy of what is art, what is life, and I'm demonstrating that through the art, so yeah, that's what helps ties it together. So it's people, I've been criticized by doing too many things, like, oh, you should just do painting, or you should just do writing. um, David Lynch, the director, had the same thing. He's spending all this time painting. They're like, why are you wasting your time with painting? And he used some of the paintings as scenes. They inspired some of the scenes in his movies. He's like, it's all one. So for me, the philosophy helps me to not, of course I make bad art, but some hopefully less of it. I have some guardrails, some indications to help me with that, and it sort of connects all these disparate aspects that I do into one vision. So philosophy, I guess, is sort of crucial, pretty crucial.
And it's really interesting that you just used the word vision, because you have that Jupiter in Pisces in the ninth house. Pisces is a very visionary sign, very visionary.
Hmm.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing also? You can think about that visionary from a mind perspective, but you also think of vision in its connection to image and art.
Yeah, visual for sure. Even when I'm writing, I'm seeing a movie in my head. I'm actually directing. To me, it's everything's quite visual. When I make a video, you can see there's texture, like in the more arty videos and music videos. Um, so yeah, I feel like I'm still painting, even though it's a video, even though it's writing. I'm using the vocabulary of painting, the visual, in these other media. It just is. I've been trained so much in painting. I've been drawing and painting since I was a little kid. It's just a way. It's sort of how I see things. Yeah.
Yeah, but for you, it also comes relatively naturally too.
Yeah, it pretty well did.
Well, yeah, like it looks like, I mean, with your chart, I can see that that's how you are, and you're just using all of these resources within you, that all these abilities that you have, they're all there.
But I know artists that took, I'm, in art class, art school, and they had never drawn before. Like they actually went to art school to learn to draw. They had never done it before, and I was just in shock. And some of them can draw better than me because they didn't have. I've been drawing. When you pick up bad habits, well, I don't want to say better or bad, but academically, they could. They didn't have. I used to trace comic books. I used to trace. So I picked up some bad, bad anatomy or this or that, bad habits. But it's also made me unique. I was just surprised that I thought every artist was like that, but it's not true.
Yeah, that's right, because it's like the artists having different styles,
Mm.
but they have different motivation as well, and their process would be different.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's like you're approaching art in your own way, but you got it in a very individual way, and you would just that would just be so kind of automatic for you that it's not until you ever compare that you would realise that somebody's approach is and their process is quite different.
Mm.
But you're so busy being you, which is great, which is good. I mean, you're not the kind of person to compare yourself. I mean, you'll notice, but most of the time you are busy being you, because that's your self-expression.
I've had people say, even on YouTube or something, like if I critique someone and they're like, "You're jealous and you're comparing yourself to this person," and I'm just like, "Are you from Mars?" I don't think about that at all. I'm just presenting that balance, that objective thing. I think they're projecting their own weakness onto me because they just can't comprehend that. Um, I do move on. Like even with my own work, I'll create something, and part of the bad thing is I never sell anything because I get so bored. It's so hard for me once it's done. I'm like, I'm on next thing. I'm not promote it. Um, uh, put it on all these different websites. Email people about. I'm just like, I do the minimum. I put something on Instagram or it's super hard for me to self-publish just to I get it out there and then I'm done. And because now I've got new ideas, I'm not worried about anybody else. I'm not worried about even my own work. I am done with it the second it's done, and I'm off to the next thing. So
Yeah.
that is me. Yeah.
But
Better words.
notice that very creative people are like that. You're busy creating. That's what a very creative person does. That's what an artist does. Regardless of what media you're using, you're just busy creating.
When I got my master's degree, I made more work than anyone else, including the professors. One professor, I hate you, Brad. I'm like, what? He's like, you made more work than me in your 2 years here. I hate that. That's what he said. It was a compliment. And my colleagues, one of them, he's a sculptor in Boston, and he's like, you are like a tactical operation. We don't see you for weeks. You have no work, and we're all going, what's Brad doing? Then you just appear, and in 2 days, you've got more work than all of us, So like I'll go away, and I don't even think, it's just I can kind of feel in the back of my mind, like clockwork going. And then when I show up, boom, it's an explosion. And that's what happened consistently.
Yeah, but that is all part of who you are.
Mm.
Is there any sort of particular other questions that you want to ask about your chart, or anything about your life now, or is there anything about the chart that you're curious about?
Let me think about my own, right now. There's that tension of going against the crowd, but at the same time, as an artist, you do crave, on some levels, recognition. And, I've gotten minor recognition here and there. I know how hard it is. I have friends that are professors, who their mom, who draws like animals, makes more money than them, and she's untrained. Stuff like that. I know that's the reality. I guess, is there something in this chart that can help me continue that motivation? There are times when you're like, why am I doing this? Or maybe I'm not as good as I think, or this is a waste of time. When the negative side comes through. I don't want to follow the crowd, but at the same time, I want to inspire the crowd. And it's not about like, I'm great, buy my stuff. It's more like, I helped someone expand their mind through a visual or through a book, and they pay me for it, which I'm owed because it's good. So is there something in this chart about help, some inspiration for me to help me continue when I'm feeling down, unrecognized, or that the art is not being seen, to keep going? Is there something in there I can concentrate on or find resource?
I think that when you get like that from your chart, this is what I can see. I think the best thing to do is that's when you switch over to the philosophical thing. Because it's like, it's not exactly a creative block from what I maybe. I don't think that's what you're describing, or even if it is, even if it was that, I think whenever you sort of feel that, in other words, when the creative flow isn't happening, like for whatever reason it is, like you're just stopping for whatever reason, or you're thinking about it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's when I think it would be really useful to get back, to switch over to that philosophical mode. It's a way of also switching off. So you're switching off and you're actually using your mind in the different way.
That's great advice. Because that is a whole different aspect. It's like a bigger view, instead of getting tied down into, oh, nobody bought my book. I spent 6 months on it, a year on it. Hardly anybody bought it. Taking a big step back and, recognizing the value and the process of writing it helped me alone. Who cares about the sales? That kind of philosophy and motivational self-talk, I guess, could be, that's true.
Yeah, the other thing is too is that I think thinking about this also, this philosophical approach, you can even apply it to thinking about this as a craft. It's not only art, it's also craft. So it's also it's a more holistic. I don't like to use the word holistic, but I can't think of the right. I don't know other than holistic what word to use. But I'm thinking of this a philosophical approach to. I know we're using holistic, but I can't think of the right word. I think if you think of it as craft, and it's your own unique craft, your own unique way of approaching things in your own way of being. And just accepting that, you are quite different and you are quite unique. And I think you were talking about really famous artists that it takes a long time for them to be recognized
or dead, and then Van Gogh's I think he sold one painting, or was it never? He never sold a painting, maybe. But I mean, and there's writers that were unrecognized, musicians. So it's just it doesn't really matter. You just have to do the work.
Now
it'd be great if that happens, but you never know.
That's the word you've just said, work. Okay, you have to do the work. So it's a craft, but it's also work.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm going to use a philosophical phrase here that's really well known with the Chinese philosophy. I always think that chop wood, carry water. You know that. That actually helps me quite a bit because I'm sort of so heavily into like philosophical outlook and esoteric approach that helps me a lot, because that helps me to sort of get real and sometimes do practical things, because I really dislike mundane things.
So people who aren't familiar with that, that's before Enlightenment, you chop wood, carry water. After Enlightenment, you chop wood, carry water. So that's a great phrase.
Yeah. So this is your path.
Chop wood, carry water. Yeah.
This is your way. This is your and that philosophical approach is really and really will help you continue to help you through, because that's a really strong resource for you and you've got it there. It's just that higher overview that will help you.
Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. And, if I have some more questions, I'll email you. And I know you've done, decades of training, and you've taken schooling in this. Are you going to be offering your services through at all for people, or is this just sort of a side thing you do with friends, or?
Well, I've done a long period of face-to-face, and I'm not doing that much anymore. by face-to-face, I mean, I used to do a lot of in-person sort of work.
Right.
And then, you know, I can move into, I can do Skype, you know, things like that. I can do Zoom, all that sort of thing. But I got sidetracked with all of my esoteric research. I'm always doing esoteric research.
Right.
So I wanted to do this with you because I just knew that your chart would just be so interesting and different. But I think that's something I'm going to have to think about where I'm going from here, because I've got I've always had a long-term interest in astrology. But the thing is, though, I'm always quite heavily involved in the esoteric research and study, and that sort of really has sidetracked me for the last few years. So I'm sort of in the middle of deciding what I'm doing.
Well, this has been, you know, and now, you know, I'm not, I am a skeptical person, but either way, this conversation and however we get there through this chart has been helpful. Just our conversation and talking through this makes you think in a different way. You don't have to agree with everything, but I just think talking about it with you is fascinating. And yes, I have found this helpful. So yeah, it's something I think you could help people with. So it's maybe one of your talents, but let us know how it goes. And you know, it's you've changed. You've had to get a new channel as your old one was hacked, which is Pandora Portal. So yeah, let her know if you want your chart done, and maybe if enough of you do it, we can twist her arm to help you guys. So I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you got, you know, quite a bit out of this, Brad.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And you may not have thought about, and I just thought it was a good idea. I mean, from my point of view, I wanted to look at your chart, but I think it's also good sometimes to just widen your perspective when you're, you know, experiencing something that you haven't really looked into before, and I thought it might be a good idea. So.
Yeah, it's quite, it's a lot more richer than just sort of the newspaper astrology cliche. You're a Scorpio, he's going to get revenge and attack you. That's basically what I get out of it. So this is a lot more interesting. On that note, again, thank you. And I'm flattered, and I'm glad that I didn't disappoint with my chart here.
Nah, you never disappoint, Brad.
Well, be well, and check out Jules' channel, her new channel. Subscribe, and yeah, we'll see what if this will help me a bit more. You know, when things go down a bit, I'll be able to fall back a little more on philosophy and hopefully create more content and art. So I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be of service. Glad to have this conversation with you, Brad.
Thanks again.
That's okay. Had a good time.
Yep, me too. Cheers.
Bye.